Welcome back to the Shabbos Treasures series. I'm Gila Ross, host of the Power Up podcast, and I'm here together with my co-host,
Rabbi Samuel Ross, and we are delighted to be able to share a weekly idea that you can take into your Shabbos and upgrade and beautify immediately. Enjoy. The last 2 or 3 weeks, whether you've been involved with us, whether it's on Thursday night, whether it's been through the podcast, through the notes, we've really been dealing with things like warming and rewarming and things like that. So tonight is sort of going to wrap up. That was actually a pun without realizing it, Gila. Wrap up. Anyway, the point is, you'll see it. You will see it really was terrible. It really, even if it wouldn't be 9:05 at night. The point is that we're really going to wrap this one up tonight, and please God, we'll have one final session probably next week, which will be discussing different things, which will be like miscellaneous. We've had a lot of a number of weeks about cooking. But there's a lot of things we haven't looked at, miscellaneous topics, things like, hot water taps, all different types of modern inventions. So that'll be an interesting one to finish up with next week. But for this week, we have the Manish Tana once again, Rebbitzin. We have our 4 questions. I did 3, and then I thought Gita wouldn't be happy just with 3 questions. Better throw in the 4th. Has to make your wife happy, right?
He's learning. All right, the first question is, why is this night?
No, it's about schnitzel. Schnitzel, question 1.
I guess question number 1 is, how do you make schnitzel kosher for Passover?
No. Wrong festival, dearest. Question 1.
Can you wrap a schnitzel in aluminium foil to keep it hot? Interesting question.
They've gone quiet.
Why not?
Why not indeed? Well, let's throw this one out to the floor, or more correctly, the screen.
Well, if you're only keeping it hot, so therefore you're not cooking it by wrapping it in tin foil, are you?
Well, so it seems you are correct.
I'm gonna say no.
Oh. You say au contraire.
Just to be contrary, or perhaps there's a thought behind
because it'll produce juices and it'll be changing from a solid to a liquid.
Well, it's a schnitzel. A schnitzel will probably.
Yeah, but if it goes hot, it'll sweat in the foil, so it'll produce some.
Okay. Hold on to all this, guys. And again, I'm actually going to agree with you that you're not cooking anything. All you're doing is you are maybe keeping it. Maybe the juices will seep out. Although you remember weeks and weeks ago we learned something called dosh about juices seeping out. I don't think we're halachically worrying about that, even though some oil may come out. I don't have to worry about that, but hold on to that. Now we're going to have question number 2.
Can you put chicken soup in a thermos flask to keep it hot?
Well, a lot of practical questions this week.
I think there's nothing wrong with that. It's only a container. So
Darren is going the same way as both his questions so far. Both his questions so far is, and what's wrong? So our first question was wrapping the schnitzel in aluminium foil. The second one is the chicken soup in the thermos flask. Question 3, maybe I'll have a go. This is a bit of an interesting one. Put your hands up if you know what kishke is.
One hand up, yeah.
Educate kishke.
Kishke. Yeah, I do know what it is. Just can't remember what it is.
You don't know what kishke is? Okay, so let's Andrew's going to tell us what kishke is.
I could be called something different, but is it this mince meat that's wrapped in I can't remember, the cabbage or something like that?
It's far less healthy than that.
Okay.
That's a holishke.
Holishke. I knew it was somewhere in it.
It's the inside, the chicken insides.
Oh, it's way worse than that.
Something that goes in chullent is a kishke. I don't know what it is, but it's that like a creamy coloured.
It's
that goes
chicken inside, isn't it?
How do we even sum up what kishke is, other than oil?
Really, no, it really is. I think it's the intestines of an animal. I mean,
anyone's not had dinner yet tonight?
But they do also do like a non-meat one, which is a little bit slightly more palatable. It's just like flour and oil basically, and spices and
It's really delicious. It's the soft thing that comes through the chullent.
The intestines of an animal.
It's the oil and the flour. It's really super delicious. And the way, if you ever see it again, you'll see it in Auschwitz. I don't think we probably get the more of the non-intestine one. Well, that's what you should do anyway. But the point is, it's like this slightly soft grating. It's very, very delicious. And this is the point. This is the point, Darren. If you ever have kishke, you go to your chullent in wherever your shul is, and they give you the chullent with the kishke. If you were to put a chullent on and stick the kishke in, it will dissolve. It will lose its taste. So this is what we're going to ask you. Are you allowed, before Shabbos, to put it in silver foil and stick it inside your chullent pot in order that it keeps its special intestine, I mean flour and oil to it?
No, I think.
Whoa, we're hearing a no for once.
I'm going to say yes.
Now she's going to say yes. Finally, a very practical question number 4.
Can you put a towel over your food on a hot plate on Shabbos morning to warm the food up?
As you pick up Shabbos morning, and you've got your sweet potatoes and your schnitzel, can you get a towel to dump over it to make the stuff go warm?
Is that what's on the menu this week?
Hot tea towel. Yeah.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Always goes down a treat.
So let's just quickly go over, Rebecca, so maybe we'll quickly go over the 4 questions again, and then we'll move into the introduction.
Why is this night?
No, not that one. Ephraim's gone to sleep already.
Okay, can you wrap a schnitzel or any other food in aluminium foil to keep it hot? Question number 2.
Can you put chicken soup in a thermos flask to stay hot?
What about putting kishke in aluminium foil so it doesn't dissolve in a chullent in the crockpot? And
question 4, could you put a towel over your food on the hot plate? Okay. So I forget whether it was Darren or Andrew before, and you said something very important. You said, we're actually discussing the schnitzel on the aluminium foil, and you said it's not cooking. You're 100% right, it's not cooking. But our rabbis many, many years ago said that insulating is forbidden on Shabbos. And we're going to have to see where, who, and how. Maddie's nodding. You can't insulate on Shabbos because the worry is someone's going to become anxious that their food isn't being kept warm enough. They're going to forget it's Shabbos, and they're going to place the food on a real flame. Okay?
Also, you can't rip foil on Shabbos. So.
Oh, perfect. So the foil, we're going to get it to a minute. Excellent. I've made a note about that. Excellent. So we're going to have to deal with, even if you were allowed to, how to deal with it. So Maddie's correct. You can't rip the foil. But leaving that aside, which you're 100% right about, insulating in itself is a problem, even though it's not cooking. Okay. Now, this is the important thing. This is the important thing. That 4 conditions that have to be present for insulation to be forbidden. Which means if any of these 4 are present, even one of them, you're fine. You don't need all 4. If any one of these 4 are present, the rabbis any of these 4 are absent, then the rabbi said that you're okay. So we're going to go through, this is basically tonight's session. We're going to go through the 4. And the moment you've got any of these 4, you are, any of these 4 are absent, you are okay. Okay.
Basically, you need all 4, otherwise you're okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's do number 1. Do you want to do number 1?
So it must be totally covered by the insulation, right? So
that was my stupid joke about wrapping up, total enwrapment. Oh, it doesn't matter. Okay, keep going. Yeah, well, it really wasn't that good a joke the first time, definitely not the second time. It has to be totally covered.
So what you would be allowed to do is partially cover or wrap any hot food or hot container of food. Okay, so as long as there's a significant part that's not covered, it's okay. So for example, if let's say you go back to the schnitzel, if you've got a significant part of the schnitzel that's not covered, you're fine.
Yeah, so let's just picture this. You've got your, you got your schnitzel and you want to keep it warm, and you wrap it in silver foil. So the truth is, it would probably be okay anyway, as long as you cut it before Shabbos, because when you wrap the schnitzel in the silver foil, it's usually to make sure it doesn't dry out. But let's say, and I don't know if that's true or that's not true, but let's say that is true. But if you put a second wrapping around it, that would potentially be a problem unless you keep a little bit of it open. So the moment you keep a little bit of it open, you're okay. What would be another example of this? What would be another? Yes, so let's go back to our hot plate or our urn, and we want to keep it hot with our towels as long as a significant part of the urn is left uncovered, or as long as part of my pot is left uncovered, it's fine. It's only a problem if it's totally 100% covered. That's number one.
On significant, is it then majority? So the majority has to be uncovered.
No, the majority could be covered, but it's not like the teeniest, weeniest little bit that's uncovered. But you've got like a part of your pot that's uncovered, you're okay. A little bit of your potato that's uncovered, your schnitzel, you're okay. Okay. Number two, remember our thermos.
That said that you're not breaking the insulating law.
Yeah, in order you're not breaking it. So if any of these four things are present, you're okay. The first one is, as long as you leave a little bit uncovered, you're fine. The second one is, yeah, if you remember our thermos flask, now we've done this already. Is a thermos flask a first, a second, or a third vessel?
Second.
Perfect. It's a second vessel. It's only ever a problem if it's the first vessel. So with a thermos flask, you're fine anyway. Okay, so that is the second principle. Let's look at the third principle, Robertson. What's the third principle?
Intention. Your intention has to be to keep it warm for insulation.
So chefs out there, give us an example of something you would insulate, but you're not really doing it to insulating, you're doing it for another reason.
Well, the example you gave, you're insulating it to stop it dissolving, therefore
The kishke and the chullent, perfect, Andrew. Anything else?
I'm saying flour if you bake it. Do not cover the flour so it proofs.
So yeah, because again, in theory, I'm not exactly sure what this example is, but in theory, if you would have something where it's not just to insulate it, you make like another classical example would be a lid on top of a pot. Again, we're not talking about top of the fire, off the fire, because that's insulating it, but it's okay because you're just trying to protect the food inside. You don't, you know, a fly to fall in. You don't want the snake that's crawling around in the boiling hot Manchester weather to, you know, to get its way into the pot of chicken soup. So that's okay. And then we'll do the fourth one, and then again, we will go over the fourth one. Do you want to do the fourth one? So the fourth one is the direct contact. It has to have direct contact. So let's say your towel is not totally, you know, touching the pots. It's like just over it and there's airspace, you're fine anyway. If any of these four are absent, you're fine. So again, let's go through the four. The principle was that insulating is a problem because you may be worried that my food is not going to be hot and now I'm going to end up cooking it. So if any of these four are there, you are okay. Number one, if it is it's only a problem if it's totally covered. So leave it a little bit uncovered. Don't totally cover it. Number two, it has to be in the first vessel. You put it in the second vessel, you're okay. Number three, your intention has to be for insulating. But if it's to protect it or to make sure that the tastes don't fuse or something like that, you're okay. And the fourth one is it has to be in direct contact with the food or the container itself. If it's not in direct contact, you're okay. If any of these four are absent, you're absolutely fine. Now, I want to add one thing. Maybe Gila will do this, but there is one type of insulation, which is a problem even before Shabbos, believe it or not. Do you want to fill them in?
So there's two different categories of insulation. There's one which only retains heat, right? So let's see, when you cover your plate of food or your pot, right? That is just retaining the heat. It's not increasing the heat. But there's another one that adds heat. It generates added heat. So that's when the materials are used to insulate. They don't just retain it, but they increase the heat. For example, an electric blanket would be such a thing, right? So that would be a problem, even to do it before Shabbos. If you had those four conditions, you wouldn't be allowed to do it even before Shabbos.
So let's give you guys an example. It's half an hour before Shabbos or 10 minutes before Shabbos, and I take out my and I cover it in a towel to keep it warm. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Because it's not going to add heat.
Yeah.
But Shabbos itself, I couldn't totally cover it.
No.
Because it's going to maintain heat, right? So before Shabbos, the only problem is going to add to heat. It's like an electric blanket or sand or one of those sort of materials that adds to heat. But on Shabbos itself, it's only a problem if it's going to actually maintain the heat. So how would I deal with that? I want to keep my chicken soup pot hot off the thing at Shabbos. I can't totally insulate it with a towel. How can I get around that problem?
Partially cover it.
Perfect. You partially cover it, right? So you leave a part of it uncovered. Guys, we're going to go back to our first 4 questions. Question number 1. We'll take this in turn. Question number 1. Do you want to do the schnitzel?
Yes. So
Yes.
let's ask you, can we wrap a schnitzel with foil?
Yes.
Always?
Always.
Okay, so
Always,
this
you can't double wrap it.
yeah, so you can't, yeah,
There you go.
very good. You couldn't double wrap it, also you can't cut it. Again, the reason you can't double wrap it is because, that's to keep it hot. But the first wrapping is probably just to make sure it doesn't dry out. What about putting chicken soup in a thermos flask?
Well, yes, because it's not the first vessel.
Amazing. Question 3 is the delicious, divine.
Kishke in foil, you allowed to do that in the chullent?
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah, because the intent is to protect it from dissolving.
Perfect. Therefore, yes. Therefore, yes.
Is not the right. Is not to keep it warm.
Right. And the 4th question: what about the towel of the food on the hot plate?
Yes,
Yeah.
please, brother. Yes.
Because as long as it's not totally covered on all sides, you are fine. Amazing, guys. Phenomenal job. Again, installation is a problem, but any of these 4, it's not totally wrapped, it's not in the first vessel, the intention is for a different reason, or it does not direct contact, you are fine. Okay, guys, hope to see you next week for our final session of the school year. Have a wonderful evening and a good Shabbos.
Thank you for taking the time to listen. I'd love to hear if this resonated with you. And if you'd like to discuss it further, you can get in touch with me. You can find me on Instagram at It's Gila Ross, or you can WhatsApp me. My number is in the show notes, and we can set up a time to discuss this further. Thank you for taking the time to listen. Have a wonderful day, and please take a moment to rate, review, subscribe, and share this podcast to anyone else who would benefit from it.